All right, guys. So Elizabeth Warren was doing some sort of a town hall event here, and she said something that definitely made news because you guys know all these politicians, none of them are going to keep it totally real on what's happening in Gaza right now. But she's pressed at this town hall on whether or not it's a genocide. And here's her answer. Let's listen to this entire exchange. This is interesting.
I wouldn't say that you are necessarily a scholar in international law, but that you have, experience within it. And so I wanted to ask you two questions. And the first is, what is your opinion on the ICJ ruling? And secondly, do you think that Israel is committing a genocide?
So I think that what's happening now is there's going to be a long and involved debate over what constitutes genocide when you ask a legal question. For me, it is far more important to say what Israel is doing is wrong. And it is wrong. It is wrong to starve children, women, a civilian population in order to try to bend them to your will. It is wrong to drop 2,000-pound bombs in densely populated civilian areas. I think I can make a more effective argument by describing the behavior that is happening and whether I believe it is right or wrong, and look people in the eye and say, do you want to tell me you think it is right? And that it should be the policy of the United States of America to support those actions. So that's how I analyze this. No, I did analyze.
So she's actually making an argument that I made early on in this when we were like 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in. The point is, especially that early on, there's going to be many people who like roll their eyes at the notion that this is a genocide. And my point was, look, I literally don't care what you call it if at the end of the day you're acknowledging the basic facts. And what are the basic facts? At the time, Israel had already killed 3,000, 4,000 children, maybe 10,000 civilians total, something like that, right? Hey, as long as you acknowledge at the end of the day, thousands of civilians are being killed, and that's wrong. Thousands of children and women are being killed, and that's wrong. As long as you acknowledge that, I don't care what you call it, because we have a fundamental agreement on the facts. Here's a bad thing. This needs to stop. And perhaps the best way to stop it is for us to stop sending money and weapons and giving them a nice little pat on the ass and saying, hey, green light, go ahead. So that was my point early on, right? Here's the thing. We're now really deep into this. Over 6 months? Even that argument no longer stands. Because it's like, let's stop being idiots. Words have meaning. Is it a genocide? Absolutely, it's a genocide. There's no doubt about it. Go look up the textbook definition of genocide, and this fits perfectly. It's not even the tiniest stretch. It's just copy-paste. It's exactly right. And so at this late date, and that's why these people are getting pissed at her, right? It's one thing to make this argument like I did 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in. It's more about how do we convince the people who are going to be skeptical because that word is so charged historically. How do we convince them, hey, this is really fucked up? But now we're so late in that this argument no longer carries water. It just seems like you're dodging, right? And she's like, they're starving the kids. They're dropping the 2,000-pound bombs. Like, what's happening is bad. And then when she finishes her comments, they're like, you didn't answer the fucking question. Is it a genocide? All right, watch. Here we go.
And say, do you want to tell me you think it is right? And that it should be the policy of the United States of America to support those actions. So that's how I analyze this. No, I did analyze the question. I said
yes or no.
It was a yes or no. The second question was a yes or no question, to clarify.
So if you want to do it as an application of law, I believe they will find that it is genocide, and they have ample evidence to do so.
If you want to talk about it as an application of law, I think it is genocide, and they have ample evidence to prove it, basically. That's true. That's true. All right. And she starts to get some applause when she finishes here. Look. That's like, oh my God, a politician directly answered a question. Thank you. That is correct.
What I'm also trying to tell you is I'm trying to get people past a labels argument, which seems to throw up a screen, and to get them to look at the...
Yeah, again, the argument she's making here is literally one I made early on in the process, which was a good argument to make early on. But now we're past that. Like, it's just, this is like a real litmus test for your acceptance of basic reality. Are you so incredibly biased that you can't see the obvious? That's what this question now tests for people. So anyway, that's what she says here. Later on, because of course, when the media got a hold of this and her Democratic colleagues for them, it's like, "Whoo, how could you?" And then she's like, "Well, when I said it's a genocide, I was talking like academically, literally applying the law, the label. I'm not necessarily saying it's my take. I'm just saying that legally, I think they have." Look, all of the pressures in DC are the exact opposite of the ones in the real world. In the real world, it's like, what's the evidence? What's the empirical data? What are my eyes showing me? So the does like, yeah, that's genocide, right? In DC, first of all, you're surrounded by people who are ideological Zionists. So they actually have the sincerely held belief of being a Zionist, and they probably all drunk the Kool-Aid of the hardcore Hasbara about the founding of Israel and how it's just the safe haven and it was a land without a people and we tried to offer peace to the Arabs so many times and they said no. Like, there's a lot of ideological Zionists in DC, but also there's the Israel lobby. There's AIPAC. There's DMFI. The Israel lobby, just like the Saudi lobby, is incredibly well-funded, incredibly influential. They pay politicians in both parties to help them run their campaigns. When those politicians get in there, they do favors for the Israel lobby. All of the pressure in D.C. is deflect, obfuscate, deny, defend Israel, don't use hyperbolic but accurate language like genocide. And so now all the pressure came to try to get her to sort of back off of it. And look, this is the problem, right? This is the problem. The fact that we have ideological Zionists there and the fact that we have a massively powerful Israel lobby, they are completely detached and disconnected. But the fact of the matter is we're now at a point where the public's reaction is so clear that the calculation is changing for a lot of these politicians. Like, hey, I can't do my normal, like, defend Israel 100% of the time no matter what shit, because now people can't go and Democrats can't, even probably Republicans too, but Democrats, since it's Democratic White House, they can't go anywhere without pro-Palestine protesters haranguing them. And so that makes you rethink, like, Jesus, if this is any indication of what the population is feeling, that I need to fucking get my act together because I could lose even with all the Israel money that I get. So we shall see, but isn't it great? Elizabeth Warren, at least for a brief moment here, went to the left of even Bernie on this question. But isn't it, how sad is it that here we are, what's happening is so clear, and AOC came out and said it the other day, good. I'm sure you'd have, like, Rashida Tlaib would definitely say it, Summer Lee, maybe Cori Bush, but, like, you're talking less than 5% of DC elected officials would state the obvious. And that is just a horrific state of affairs. Like I always tell you guys now, we live in a place and time where I naively thought, like, there's certain things we all agree on, right? Like genocide being bad. Turns out, no. Turns out in today's day and age, you scratch a little beneath the surface and somebody who you just thought was like a moderate conservative, it's like, oh, they're just a Nazi. Look at all the things that have been, all the politicians who were recorded walking the halls of the House of Representatives who are just like, there should be no more Gaza. Wipe it off the map. I mean, this is like, again, scratch a little beneath the surface, and these people are just like, Heil Hitler. Like, this is what it is. And it's sad. And it's disturbing. That's for sure. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.